Today I'm joined by Alfinity's Bruce Smith, who challenges the notion that Wesfarmers and Woolworths will continue to be dominant players. Bruce, lovely to see you again.
Thank you, Christine. Thanks for coming in.
So Bruce, are we really operating in a supermarket duopoly?
It does seem like that sometimes, but you couldn't really call it a duopoly. There are plenty of other players. Coles and Woolworths are very major players, and between them they make probably 3/4 of the whole market. But there are plenty of others as well. There's the IGA, the independent grocers that operate. There's also the more recent entrants like Aldi. Aldi's been in for about 10 years, and they've been gradually building up. I think they've got 300 or 400 stores now on the east coast, and they've announced their plans to go into South Australia and West Australia. So there's also other players like Costco. Costco's ended about 5 years ago, and they now have a number of stores around Australia. So yeah, it's not really a duopoly. I'd say it's an oligopoly more than anything else.
Bruce, you mentioned companies like Aldi and IGA, but do these companies have the pricing power and scale to effectively compete?
Not as yet, but they have other advantages. So the IGA operating model is quite different. Rather than selling branded goods on equal footing with Coles and Woolworths, they tend to have very much a private label strategy. Although a lot of people don't recognise it as private label because they're nicely presented branded goods. It's just they're Aldi's own brands. So that really means that that they can come in at much lower prices than people perceive Coles and Woolworths, because they're not really comparing like for like. They're not comparing Coles and Woolworths' own label with Aldi's own label, in which case they're very close, but they do seem to be quite inexpensive from a consumer point of view. So that's their advantage. It's a little bit more difficult for the IGAs of the world. So they have the problem of not having the scale or the distribution efficiencies that Coles and Woolworths have, and they often find themselves uncompetitive from a price point of view. But having said that, in a lot of cases they're in uncompetitive areas as well. They can be in a lot of country towns where they might be the only player, in which case it's less of an issue for them.
So Bruce, do you see Aldi as a game changer for the industry?
Well, it hasn't been so far. So what Aldi's been doing is just nibbling away at the market share that Coles and Woolworths would have had Aldi not been there. But as it is, Coles and Woolworths are both still growing slowly, but they're still growing. It's just that the marginal growth that they would have had is being taken up by Aldi and a couple of the other players. So it's actually been quite a successful market for Aldi. One of their advantages is that as a private company, they can fly a little bit under the radar and not be quite as open about what they're doing as the majors have to be. So that's really helped them in getting quite a strong market position now.
Bruce, you raised an interesting point that Aldi is a private company. Of course, investors already have investments in Wesfarmers and Woolworths. So how can they play the investment trend that you're speaking about?
Unfortunately, they can't really do that at all. So Aldi is private. They're owned by a family in Germany, and they're essentially funded that way. Costco is a publicly listed company, but in the United States, and I guess if you had an international, a potential for international shares, then that's fantastic. But it's also a very small part of Costco's global operations, so not really all that relevant. So it is very difficult for someone to actually take advantage of the growth of the smaller players.
So Bruce, do you expect maybe Aldi could go to an IPO?
I think a lot of people would love to see that, but I think it's pretty unlikely. One of the strengths that Aldi has is the private ownership and the fact that they can fly under the radar. So I'd be very surprised if they decided to IPO the Australian business.
Finally, Bruce, can you give your outlook generally for Wesfarmers and Woolworths?
Wesfarmers and Woolworths have had I might start that again. Both Wesfarmers and Woolworths have had some difficult times over the last couple of years. They've been market performers rather than outperformers, and part of the reason for that is that even though their supermarket operations for both are going quite well, they have other businesses that have been struggling a bit more. So in Wesfarmers case, it is companies like Target and some of their industrial and resource-related businesses. For Woolworths, it's been their startup business, which is Masters, the hardware business. And because of those factors, it's been difficult for either stock to really outperform the market. So they've both been suffering from earnings downgrades over the last couple of years.
Bruce, thank you very much for your challenging insights.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for coming in.